Psychiatry for a Mad World. An extract from the book Politicians and Mental Illness. Politicians have psyches which are occupied by the same desires, fears, aspirations, worries and joys as the rest of the human species. And in our assessment of the mental state of the world, we want to look for any mental health issues which may lurk behind the eyes of those in power. We have seen some of the mental health problems of individual politicians in Chapter 5, where we saw that former US President John Quincy Adams had clinical depression. Former US President Abraham Lincoln had several breakdowns, suicidal thoughts and clinical depression. Sir Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister, had bipolar affective disorder and was prone to drinking. David Blunkett, British MP, had depression. Boris Yeltsin, former Russian president, had depression. Charles Kennedy, British MP, had alcoholism. And John Prescott, British MP, had bulimia. You can bet there have been more politicians than that who keep quiet about their mental illnesses, lest the associated stigma should damage their political careers. But these few examples show that politicians are normal people. These disorders listed above are associated with anxiety and are quite likely to be stress-related. As we know, stress is the major cause of mental illness, and, since the world of politics can be an extremely stressful place, we should expect to see plenty of stress-related mental illness in our leaders. But politicians will experience delusional illnesses as well. The former British Prime Minister Tony Blair was confirmed as a practicing Catholic, a religion which claims there to be a supernatural entity watching over us, which encourages people to be healed by drinking wine and eating wafers, and which claims that sins can be forgiven by uttering a few Hail Marys. The atheist Richard Dawkins would say that Tony Blair has the God delusion. In Tony Blair's case, Catholicism may be benefiting him. The Iraq War of 2003 killed 654,965 people. Many more suffered injury, trauma, displacement and grief, and it was instigated on the premise that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Those weapons were not discovered, and that's a lot of people to suffer for a mistake. As the then leader of the British government, Tony Blair would have shouldered much of the responsibility and subsequent guilt for the atrocity. But the Catholic way makes that okay, since Blair can absolve himself of the guilt by saying a few prayers here and there to an imaginary entity. In his autobiography, A Journey, he said he had no regrets over the war. Where did his guilt go? His religion may have helped him to overcome it, but probably he sought solace in those Freudian defence mechanisms to live in denial, staving off the agonising pain of guilt for all those deaths. Some people who might experience the guilt of killing so many people could be driven to suicide. Former US President George W. Bush shared the same God delusion as Blair when he claimed that God had given him special permission to invade Iraq. Or perhaps he was lying about that, in which case it may not have been delusion, but might have been a symptom of another mental disorder. Other politicians who are religious will be experiencing similar religious mental illness. And if they are religious, they will be bringing their illness to the masses by passing insane laws built on foundations of supernatural nonsense and ancient and outdated codes of ethics. Those are very briefly a few of the anxiety-related and delusional mental illnesses which are present in politicians, but as we know, there are other kinds of mental disorder.